Welcome to the Survivor to Thriver show with your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Do you feel stuck, silent, and stressed? Is something hurting your heart and soul? Are you burning yourself out? If so, you are in the right place because this is the podcast people from all over the world join in to learn exactly how to stop suffering and start living with inner peace and joy. Let's get started.
So last episode, I have begun to share with you some parts of the visions and the goals and dreams that I discovered for myself when I went through that class on the most effective methods of creating social change. And it turned out, hey, that class was designed to also take us through a process of getting clarity on what our life meaning and purpose is and how we're going to live our life meaning and purpose. Because one of the most critical components of effective change making is having a clear vision of the change that you want to make. And one of the things that I really loved about our class, our professor, was that he wasn't just interested in teaching us the theory of how to create effective change. He wanted us to implement what we were learning. Okay? And so he set up the class so that we would be simultaneously implementing everything that we were learning about effective change making. And so we go through this process, and at the end of the class, by the way, at the end of that class, I was graduating from college. So it was like a really, really exciting time for me, right? Because, wow, I was like graduating. I'd been plagued by this question of what am I going to do with my life? And just in time, I was able to take this class and bam, I had clarity on this question. And it was like a vision the vision that I saw, it was like something that really, really, really excited me, because it was a vision that was allowing me to live my life meaning and purpose and do it in ways where, I'm using my strengths. I'm able to bring together my many different interests and where I would be making money doing what I love. Wow, awesome. Now, part of the class, again, it's all about, okay, if you're thinking about effective change, what's needed to create effective change? It's like, wow, effective leadership, right? So one of the things that we were doing in the class was going through different leadership development exercises. And we were learning things like how to negotiate win-win solutions and how to share your vision and your dreams and your goals with others in ways that inspires them to join you, get on your team, get on board with you, and so that other people, it's like, because, hey, you know what? We're talking about big, hairy, audacious goals that are going to change the world. There's no way we're going to be able to implement these visions, goals, and dreams all by ourselves. We will need help. We will need support. So we'll need to get people on our team, get people on our side, build a community around it, build a movement around our visions, goals, and dreams. So it's like, let's start practicing the skills of how to inspire people to follow you, right? And all these kinds of things that we were learning. It's like, okay, and you know what? Drill this into your mind. There is no problem that does not have a solution. Every problem has a solution. Every problem is in fact just an opportunity for us to learn and grow. And there's always multiple solutions. There's not even just one solution to any given problem. There are multiple solutions to any given problem. And we get to choose whatever the best solution is for us. So it was like with this kind of really excited, empowered, confident mindset that I graduated, ready to jump into action. And sure enough, I jumped into action in terms of implementing the plan that I had come up with for how I was going to live my visions, goals, and dreams. Now, as I began to implement my action plan, one step at a time, I began to run into some roadblocks. Now, the biggest area of concern that sort of emerged when I started implementing my visions, goals, and dreams, or the action plan thereof, was it was all about the money. All about the money. Because remember, I told you one of the biggest components of my vision was to create a school that would be dedicated to teaching people about how to live with more inner peace and joy, how to stop suffering in their lives. And the idea was that I must share with people what I have learned in my own journey about how to stop suffering, how to heal, how to live with more inner peace and joy. See? So it was like, okay, I'm going to create this school, and it's going to become the platform from which I teach, okay, and share what I know. Now, I had it wasn't just like, build a school. It was like I had a vision for the school. And, so it was like, okay, I need a building of a certain size that can house like maybe 300-400 students in there. I'll need a staff of at least maybe 5-6 people, you need to be like making enough money that, you're able to meet all your expenses, all the overhead costs of, paying the rent or the mortgage and utility bills and all that kind of stuff, not to mention the salaries for myself and my staff and things like that. So I had, of course, come up with a budget. And my budget, I had even gone so far as to create the ideal budget, which would have included in it everything that I thought I wanted to see in my school. And then I also created a Plan B budget. So it was like only the must-haves included. My ideal budget was $500,000. And then my Plan B budget came out to about $200,000, so just under $250,000. And so it was like, okay, now I just need to make the arrangements to get access to this kind of funding so that I can get my school going. And so I started talking to people about my vision and starting to ask them for help. It's like, okay, who can finance this project? Where can I get financing from this project? And so I was guided to various sources, various people, and everyone that I talked to gave me a very similar kind of response. And the overall message of that response was, Samia, this is a great idea, but your plan and the timeline especially that you have for how you're going to make it happen is just not realistic. See? And they said things like, well, Samia, the reason it's not realistic is because what you're proposing to do is a very risky thing given your particular situation, because you don't have any work experience. Like, you've never held a job. All I did pretty much up until that point in my life was work for free or do a lot of volunteer work. So I literally never even held a job. So I know experience in terms of how to work in a professional kind of an environment. And I was like, okay, so you have no work experience, no management experience. You've never created or run a business, right? So also, another big thing was, Samia, you have no credit history. Yes, well, because I never needed a credit card up to that point in my life, and so I had not even opened a credit card for myself. I had no credit history. They were like, Samia, well, do you have anything that you can, put in as collateral? If somebody was going to loan you this kind of money, is there something you can put in for collateral? I was like, no, nothing that I can put in for collateral. Nothing of that kind of value, certainly. Well, Samia, do you have a guarantor? Who can sort of guarantee, if something goes wrong, that they would cover you if someone gives you a loan. It's like, no, I don't really see anyone in my life right now that I would feel comfortable asking to pay that loan. Okay, so, all right, well, you know what, Samia, again, you have a really great idea, but it just does not look like it's a very realistic thing for you to be going for right now. Why don't you sort of cut it down, cut it down. It's a great dream, it's a big dream, but if you build your way up, start small, and then you can build your way up to it, and maybe in the next 5-10 years you'll be ready to implement this vision. And I had person after person after person tell me this, and these were all people that I could sense and I perceived to be very kind, and they were actually caring about me, and they were giving me their very best advice and their very best suggestions for what to do. And the more of them that gave me this message, the more I began to get convinced that what they were saying was right. That it was a great idea, it just wasn't a very realistic action plan. So I needed to chop down my dream, or at least, put it on hold for a while. And maybe in 10 years or so, I'd be able to make it happen. The good news was that I was like, yeah, I'm still committed to the vision. I'm still committed to this dream. I'm still going to make this happen. It's just that it's not going to happen as quickly as I thought it might. I was just going to, now I actually I updated and adjusted my plan and said, okay, 10-year plan. We're going to put this on a 10-year plan to make happen. And so I started to shift my focus to, okay, what can I do now? What are the parts of the dream and the vision that I can work on right now? And even insofar as I'm putting this bigger dream on a 10-year plan, what do I need to do to start gaining the experience and the knowledge and anything else that I need to make it happen 10 years from now? So, for example, I'd been told, hey, Samia, you need management experience. You need to learn, you need to have some experience in creating and managing your own organization. So I was like, okay, all right, well, how can I make that happen in a way that does not require $250,000 or $500,000? So I actually discovered that the mosque in my city, the one that's closest to my house, didn't have a youth program. And they have this like beautiful building, lots of space in the mosque, relatively newly built, but they had almost no programming going on, especially for youth. So I was like, you know what? I will create your youth program. And I will grow it and build it into a great organization. And the other reason why I'm like really excited about this idea is because it gives me the opportunity to start teaching the kids and sharing with them what I've learned about how to stop suffering, how to heal, how to live with more inner peace and joy, how to discover your own life meaning and purpose. Figure out how you can make money doing what you love in your life. All youth need this information. All youth need it, right? So it's like something that's needed, something I can do, something that, and they were like, sure, absolutely, Samia, go for it, do this. I got permission to do it. So I jumped into it. I started working on that. And then I started looking, okay, what else do I need? What else do I need to make my vision happen, come true in 10 years that I can do right now? Or what other parts of my mission vision can I enact right now? So I started just like when I was in college, and I was like involved in so many different projects. Once again, I found myself in a situation. Now I'm out of college, and once again, I found myself getting involved in like so many different projects. And to the people around me, like my friends and my family, and they would say, Samia, what are you doing now that you've graduated? And I would start telling them, well, I'm doing this, and I'm doing that, and I'm doing that. And to a lot of people who heard me talk, they were like, you're doing a lot of very different things. And it didn't always, they didn't see the connections between all my different interests and stuff projects that I was doing, but it all made sense in my head. It all connected in my head. So I kept going. And about 3 years ago, I actually even established the Academy of Thriving, which is the current business that I'm running and through which I'm doing my coaching and training work. Because again, remember, my main mission in life is to share with people what I know about how to stop suffering and how to live with more inner peace and joy, right? And so I don't need a building to be able to do that, that I own or whatever. I can be doing that online, over the phone with my clients like I do right now. I can go to other people's buildings, who already have established spaces and teach in them, and that's also part of what I'm doing right now. So like 3 years ago, it was like, and I started this Academy of Thriving. So it's like, I was like moving along and feeling really, really good about the progress that I was making. It was like, yes, I'm definitely feeling really good with regards to my 10-year plan, because I was on track for realizing and manifesting my vision of creating that school at the end of the 10 years. So very, very exciting. Now, let's take a pause right here in terms of me sharing with you my story, for me to highlight a quick lesson for you. If you have a vision, goal, and dream that's really big and hairy and audacious, and there are some parts of it that maybe because of how ambitious they are and so on and so forth, you're not immediately able to find a solution. Or it seems like, okay, you're getting a lot of feedback that, hey, this is not realistic. It's important, and especially if if that feedback is coming from well-wishers, it's important that you pay attention to that, right? We don't want to be like pig-headed in terms of being like, I don't care what anyone else is saying, and I'm just going to, like forge ahead on this path that I've determined for myself, no matter what other people are saying, what warnings they're giving, right? Because, hey, if a well-wisher is giving us some warning, if they're telling us, hey, that path, is blocked up further ahead or something like that, why not benefit from their wisdom, from their experience? There definitely there are ways, there's always solutions to any problem, but there are also, just as there are ways in which a problem can be solved, there are ways in which the problem cannot be solved. So you definitely want to pay some attention to the feedback that you're getting from especially your well-wishers, right? It's important that we act in alignment with the nature of reality. It's like, the analogy that I like to give of, like, imagine there is a brick wall. You need to get through the other side, and so you start banging yourself against it. And no matter how much you bang yourself against it, you're not able to break through. But it's like, okay, well, then what are your choices? What are your options? It's like, now I'm even starting to hurt from all that banging, and there's still no dent in the wall. Well, it's like, okay, whoa, maybe you need to stop and acknowledge the fact that banging yourself against the wall is just not going to work, that you just don't have that capability and that ability. But just because you acknowledge that you cannot bang your way through the brick wall doesn't mean that you cannot get to the other side of the wall. You see, it's like, okay, I can't bang my way through the wall, but maybe I can climb over it. Maybe I could dig a hole to go under the wall. Maybe I could walk around the wall. There are so many potential other ways that you could get to the other side of the wall. So as long as you don't get attached to one particular way of doing things, you can allow yourself to keep moving forward. And that was the good thing about what I did and how I reacted in my situation. That, I allowed myself to continue to move forward towards my goal. When I got that feedback of, hey, my plan's not realistic, I was like, okay, fine, I'll adjust the plan. I'll adjust the timeline. And so rather than worrying about or stressing about what I couldn't do, just like focus on what I can do. So this is a huge aspect of positive thinking and positive living. That's also pragmatic. That's also, grounded in a sense of realism. Okay? Now, I say this, I pointed out to you something that I did really well, but I also made a big mistake in this process. And I will tell you what that big mistake is that I made next episode. So make sure you tune in. In the meanwhile, if you find yourself, kind of in a similar position, remember, don't be attached to the path. Keep yourself focused on the destination. As long as you keep yourself focused on the destination, you can always find different ways to get there. All right? So if you, by the way, are struggling to maintain this kind of focus on your goal, if you find yourself, getting overly attached to a path that's not leading anywhere or not leading where you want to go fast enough, please don't struggle with that on your own. Get some help and support. And I'm one person that you can reach out to help, for help and support. And you know how to get to me, reach me. Just go to my website at www.academyofthriving.com. Click on the Contact Us tab, and you'll see how you can connect with me from there. All right. So until we connect next time, I wish you lots of peace and joy.